Hey, what's going on, guys? You're tuned in to PVD Horror. Today, we're having an interview with David Howard Thornton, aka Art the Clown, as we talk about some of the rough times with COVID-19, the upcoming film, Terrifier 2, and also some of the cool conventions that we have gone to over the years. So stay tuned, check it out.
What's up, everybody? This is PVD Horror. I am Joshua.
This is Dave.
And this is Brandon.
Hey, and I'm David Howard Thornton. I'm Art the Clown.
And you are now listening to PVD Horror.
Hey guys, I'm Felissa Rose, Angela from Sleepaway Camp, and you're listening to PVD Horror. Yeah!
Hi, everybody.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Hey Brandon, so you wanna start us off, dude?
Yeah, so like we were talking before the podcast, we were just kind of like catching up. You know, we were able to meet David back in 2019 at the Scaricon convention back in Massachusetts. So, you know, it was pretty cool. We were able to talk to himself and Damien. Now we're able to link up to have this interview. You know, it's a cool experience. Dave, you want to go into a little bit about that?
Yeah, like, what do you want me to? Oh, me, Dave, or the other Dave? That's gonna be confusing.
Yeah, all right.
Oh, yeah, it's two Daves. Yeah, it's two Daves.
It's like I'm back in second grade again. It's like we had all four Davids in my second grade class in the same class together. It was like, oh God, this is confusing. Hey, David, yes. Not you, David. That David. Which David? That David. That David. No, that David. Oh.
Were you the clown back then?
Oh yeah,
David the clown.
Oh, I was always getting in trouble too. I was always in the office. I was getting in fights all the time.
Yeah, I can totally picture that. I definitely picture you probably being a very outspoken youth as well as adult.
Yeah. I'm my mom's son. I can't help it.
There you go.
So I guess what we wanted to ask was like, you know, for after Terrifier kind of blew up, I guess you would say, what was that convention scene like for you? And do you enjoy it? Do you like meeting people, or is it kind of overwhelming?
Oh, I love it. It's a lot of fun. It's just that was always like a goal of mine because I used to go to conventions growing up and stuff like that. So it's like that was always something I wanted to be on. Was on the other side of that table one day. I think it's so cool. I was like, I want to be on doing panel discussions and all that fun stuff. And now I get to do it. So it's like it's living out a childhood dream in a lot of ways. So I can't complain.
Sure. Did you have any idea after doing Terrifier that would be kind of the outcome? Oh
God, no, because we were trying to be honest with ourselves because we were just a small little budget independent film. We didn't know if anybody was even going to see us. We were like, well, we think we have something fun here, but who knows? Because it's like when you don't have like the Hollywood engine behind you, you don't know what's going to happen because that Hollywood engine's doing all the publicity and all that kind of stuff for you. Big theaters because they got millions of dollars, and we didn't have any of that. So we're just like, well, hopefully people will see this and like it.
Yeah.
Nah.
And I feel like it literally blew up overnight.
Pretty much. Yeah. Especially when we, when we first came out, it was like all the original fans from All Hallows Eve, they went crazy over it and they started telling people about it. And it wasn't really until we got put on Netflix in September of that year, because we released in March. So, it was about 6 months later that we got put on Netflix. And that's when it really went boom. Because it's so much, more accessible to people that way.
Now, I know you're down over in New York, 3 hours away from us in Rhode Island. How are you handling up with COVID?
Pretty well, as much as I can. I've basically been hunkered down in my apartment for the past, how many months now?
I know.
I don't know anymore.
9.
About 8 months now.
Yeah.
So I've been here playing a lot of video games, watching a lot of movies and stuff. I've been catching up on shows that I never watched. I just started watching Supernatural finally. So I'm only in the first season. I'm like, this is going to be a fun journey. And I started watching One Piece a few months ago. So I'm about 200 some odd episodes into that. I'm just like, that's awesome.
Love it.
Yeah, it's a cool show.
Yeah.
So
This is my
also,
Corona
we see
hair
that you got-
and my Corona beard. So just so you know, I started Corona as soon as we got locked down.
Oh God.
The wild man of the lockdown.
Yeah, no kidding. I can't grow facial hair that well, but yeah.
Well, the
I'm
problem
so
is they're never going
splotchy.
to let me out again. So there we go.
Yeah. You're gonna be
Yeah,
like
so
just
we-
have one of those like ZZ Top beards by the end of this.
Yeah, so I see you have a birthday coming up soon in a few
Oh,
days, man. We just want to say
God.
happy birthday.
Happy birthday!
Don't remind me. Oh.
Finally old enough to go to the bar.
Yeah, wait, yeah. I passed those years like 20 years ago now, so it's just like, it's like, oh God, when did that?
Remember when bars
Oh.
existed?
Yeah, remember? Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Wait a minute. So that would make you what, 41?
Yeah, I'm turning 41 next week. Yeah, it's just
Dude,
like,
when I turned 40, it was like the worst thing in my entire life.
oh, it's worse. It's a weird
You got that to look
realization.
forward to.
It's not fun. It's just plus last year my 40th birthday was during Thanksgiving weekend, so I was by myself because everybody went out of town to be with their families. And I was like, oh man,
Yeah,
because I wanted to do something cool. And so I took myself to go see Knives Out and took myself that Crapplebee's for a steak dinner. And that was
yeah.
I was just like, yeah, that's how it's like. Well, next year I will go, because that's when Terrifier 2 should be out by then, and I'll just take myself down to Orlando and go to the parks because I have some friends that live down there, and we'll go to all the parks and fun shit like that. And then COVID.
Yeah. I wish we could go back into 2019 and just listen to our own thoughts about how cool the next year was going to be.
Oh yeah, I thought this year was going to be freaking awesome.
Yeah.
I had all these conventions lined up. I'm like, I ain't going to bank this year. I was like, yeah, I got this. I got some movies I'm going to film. And I'm going to be doing this. And yeah, it's going to be awesome. And Terrifier 2 is going to come out, and that's going to go crazy.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Well, I still think that's going to happen when Terrifier 2 can come out. But I don't know about this year, obviously. Let's cross this one off as if it didn't happen eventually.
I remember also when I thought, like when they said we're going in lockdown, oh, it's just going to be for a month.
Yeah.
That's good. No big. Why is everybody going crazy with toilet paper? It's only going to be for a month, guys. Calm down.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Here we are on lockdown number 2 coming up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Because I never anticipated the stupidity of the American people just to not take care of each other. It was just like, good God, people.
Yeah.
It's like we could be doing so much better right now if you just wore a mask and social distance for a few weeks. If we all did that, we would have been so much better off right now. But
we're pretty strong-willed people, and people are going to do what they're going to do, and I think we've all realized that for the last 4 years as well. This
is why we need to have a stupidity tax. I think we could just pay for so much with a stupidity tax in this country.
Yeah.
Dude, I got to tell you, the shutdown, when it first happened, Rhode Island was like empty. Mm-hmm. And I was still working because I drive, so I'm a delivery guy.
Yeah.
And there were like deer walking right down the city streets in the middle of the street. It was crazy. And Rhode Island is small, so it's not like they had far to go out of the woods. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it was insane, like how many animals were just everywhere and no people.
Yeah. Well, that's actually how it was here in New York too, because when the right before the lockdown started, we were upstate New York in the middle of bumfuck nowhere Amish country.
Man.
Yeah, like near Kenajahari. That's where we were filming.
Way up.
Oh. Yeah. No, I was like, it took like 45 minutes just to drive to the grocery store. It was just like, this is ridiculous. It's like I was lucky to get like a bar on my cell phone out there. I was like, this is nuts. So we come back from that, and we had no idea what was happening. It's like we heard people, it's the virus, and we came back. And I live on Steinway here in Astoria, which is like one of the busiest streets in Astoria. This is where all the bars and the restaurants and all the cool stuff is. And it's like we pull up and it's like a ghost town. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
It was like, this is weird. I've never seen it so quiet here before. It was like, but then this summer people went crazy here. There's videos of where like you can't even go down the street because everybody was out in the street partying, and I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you people?
Yeah.
We're still in the middle of this pandemic, and they're out there. Woo!
Yeah. That's unfortunate. I mean, I think we got lucky that like I don't think we saw it as much. It wasn't as blatant here, but I mean, I know it was still happening. It was more of like for us. I know it was a lot. They were saying it was a lot of like the small gatherings and stuff like that were kind of setting us back. But you know, I know that it's frustrating because we all know that we should be a lot better off than we are, and it's kind of all everybody, people's faults, but it is what it is.
Yeah. This is why we can't have nice things.
Exactly. So David, let me just ask you a little bit, just kind of like a little history about you and like your
cat trying to come.
Yeah. I was like, oh, you're gonna guess.
She's like insisting. She's like, yes, I have to be on camera to show my butt to everybody. And look at that ass.
Yeah, look at it. Tail up. Mm-hmm. So, David, just tell me a little bit about like
the video real quick.
David, tell me a little bit about your jam, Josh. You're killing me, dude.
It's like, oh no, I got a pussy on screen.
Yeah.
Got me all excited. I've been locked up for months.
It's like Ben Shapiro's wife. She's very dry right now. I'm going to hell for that.
Oh man!
All right.
It's like the Sahara.
Oh man!
Water.
So, David, before we lose all track here, tell me a little bit about your relationship with horror. Like, are you a fan yourself? Like,
we're in an
your
open relationship.
Yeah. What? So, like, do you consider yourself a fan? And if so, like, what's your favorite like subgenres? Do you have any favorite movies? Just let us know.
Yeah, I am a horror fan. I was a little bit late to the game because my mom was, big chicken when it came to horror movies. She thought The Fall of the House of Usher was the scariest movie she ever seen. And if you've seen that movie, you're like,
I love that movie.
Yeah, but it's not scary.
No,
it's not going to make me hide under the covers or anything like that. It's just like, ugh. So I didn't watch horror movies until like my senior year in high school when Scream 2 came out because some of my co-stars wanted to go see it, and there was a girl in the cast I had a crush on, and I couldn't chicken out in front of her. So I'm like, okay, sure, I'll go. And I loved it. I was like, this is awesome. So I would say like I do like them. I especially like slashers, and I like more of the paranormal stuff too.
Nice.
Yeah.
Any favorites that you would say?
Oh yeah, I would say my top 5 I always give out are like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Halloween, the original, Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, Dream Warriors,
nice,
Exorcist, and Omen.
Oh wow!
But there's so many other ones.
Your first 3 right there are on my top 5, and that's why I was like, "What?" No, so like Nightmare on Elm Street 3, I love.
It's so good.
Connect with that movie on so many different levels, and like, it's great, and that's very good list right there, sir.
Yeah.
I appreciate.
It felt like
list.
number 3 was when they really figure out what they were doing.
Yes,
like,
absolutely.
Mm-hmm. This is how we're going to go with this. Then it got a little bit campier later on, but number 3 was just.
Yeah, I feel like it's that perfect balance of dark, but like with a sense of humor as well.
Yeah.
No, I actually like thinking about how you played your character and like your own personality. I kind of see why you would gravitate towards a film like that as well, because you're a little dark, but then you have the comedic side, the physical humor part. So
I think that works so well on horror because it takes the audience on a better ride that way, because the comedy puts them at ease, so you can scare them again.
Yeah. That's a great point. And I think, what, if, you take a movie like Terrifier, and if you played it straight the whole way, it wouldn't have been as effective.
No.
But the fact that we were able to look at that diner scene and laugh at how you were interacting with those two girls, and then have you do the most vile things after. It was such a big contrast.
You even laugh at the vile stuff too, because and then you're like, I should not be laughing at this.
Yes, I totally agree. I will say though, like that movie, I haven't had a movie like where I kind of felt uneasy watching it in a while, and I really enjoyed that. So that was, I think it was because of that balance.
Yeah.
So looking at Terrifier, the original, like how did you? So first of all, I want to ask, like, how did that role come about? Like, did you audition? You know, what did you know about the character before you did that?
Yeah. Oh, I had seen All Hallows Eve before I saw the audition, so I was already familiar with the character. When I first saw it, I was like, I love the character. I was like, oh my god, I would love to play a character like that, because I looked at him as like being an evil Mr. Bean, and I've always wanted to play like a Mr. Bean type of character, because I love silent comedy and a lot of physical comedy, and I was like, oh my god, this is great. And I love playing villains, so it's like, oh my god, that's like the best of both worlds for me. So it's like, I would love to have an opportunity to play a character like that. I never anticipated I would be able to play him, but then the audition came up and I was like, oh my god, yes, this is perfect. So I had like my agent submit me for it, and you know, it was probably the craziest audition I've ever had, because I'm used to having a script and they didn't give me a script. So I went in there and I'm like, I see everybody else's scripts in their hands. I start to panic and I'm like, oh God, no, I'm in here for my first big like movie audition. And I have no script. I am not prepared. I'm like, oh God, because I knew I was perfect for this role too. I'm like, oh, you have got to be kidding me. And they call me into the room and I'm like, hey, sorry, I never got a script. And they're like, oh yeah, that's okay. You don't need one. Art doesn't talk. I'm like, cool. So what am I supposed to do then for you guys? And they're like, well, just come up with a scene where you like kill a guy, decapitate him, and you're happy about doing it. And go. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And I had to just improvise this whole scene off the top of my head, and I'm glad I have like a lot of experience with improvisation, because you just don't know when you're going to be thrown into moments like that as an actor, and it's really good to be able to think on your feet like that. And I just came to this thing where I like cartoonishly snuck up behind my victim, knocked him out, take out a hacksaw, kind of tease him with it, then cut off his head, pick it up, look at it, taste the blood. I was like, oh, don't like the taste of it. So I take out a salt shaker and start seasoning it. And then I taste it. I'm like, I give it a thumbs up, kind of bathe in the blood a little bit. And then I just skipped out on my merry way. That's what got me the role.
Did you know you had it?
Pretty much, because like Damien's head was on the table by the end of it, because he was laughing his head off.
Nice.
And our producers over there just like, oh my God. And they're like, are you okay with wearing a lot of makeup? I'm like, yeah, I've done children's theater my whole entire life. I'm used to crazy makeup jobs. And they're like, cool, can you come in for a makeup test? And I was like, yeah, I'd love to. And it was a few months before I actually went in for that makeup test. And they finally call me in for it, and I'm in it, and I'm like, so does this mean I have the part? They're like, oh yeah, you've had the part since the audition. I'm like, what? It's like, yeah, your agent didn't tell you. I'm like, no.
That's awesome.
Surprise.
That's funny though, because how we talked about how All Hallows Eve was the original film that introduced Art the Clown. Damien's best friend played Art in that movie. So, you know, like, how was that, you know, getting that role from his best friend, you know, having that part in the first film?
Yeah, that's a very unnerving thing to do too, because it's like, you know, someone else had already played it before. So like, number one, I was like, oh God, Damien's going to be comparing me to Mike, especially since that's his friend and stuff like that. And like, also, I'm like, I hope Mike's not mad at me for taking. I've actually still not met Mike personally. I've talked to him online, but I've never met him personally. But I'm like, oh God, Mike's probably gonna be like, who is this little sucker coming in and taking this part and stuff like that. But you know, Damien explained to me like Mike just didn't want to come back to do the part again. He didn't want to go through all the makeup and all that kind of stuff. So I'm like, oh, okay. So there's no bad blood. I'm like, oh, okay, phew.
Oh, that's good.
That's good.
Because I know that's happened with other people before in the past when they've taken over the roles from another person that, you know, I don't want to name names, but I know some people that've had some bad experiences with the previous actor and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was worried about that. And then I was also worried about the fan response because I know how I am. I'm a huge fanboy myself, and I know how I am when the new actor comes in playing a role that someone else had played. And I'm usually a judgmental little creep, and I'm like, oh man, this is going to come back and bite me in the ass. Now.
It's like every few years when they change Batman characters, and we're like, oh, I just started to like that one, and then now there's a new one.
Exactly. I'm like that, especially over the Joker. Because Joker's my favorite villain of all time. So I'm like, okay. And the funny thing was when they first cast Jared Leto, I was like, oh, he's perfect. He's perfect. He's a great actor and stuff like that. Now I'm just like, oh. When they cast like Heath Ledger, I was like, oh my God, what are they doing? No, he's a.
And then you saw him.
He's great. He's not the Joker from the comic, but he's great with what he did. He lost himself in the role and did his own thing with it. I was like, that's amazing. And then Jared Leto's, I'm like, oh.
I know. I had like similar responses with both where I was like Heath Ledger, I was like, oh, I don't see that. And that's why, when they're talking about Robert Pattinson being Batman, I'm like, you know what, I'm not gonna even like have a judgment because every time I've done it, it's been wrong. So,
I know. I hate it because I was like that with them when they cast Colin Farrell as Penguin. I was like, what the hell? He's not Penguin. He doesn't have the physique or anything. Then I seen the makeup that they have him in. I'm like, oh my God, that's Colin Farrell?
Yeah. So
I'm like,
that's amazing things.
Okay. I'm interested. I'm very interested now.
I mean, it won't be any Danny DeVito, but
yeah.
No one is, right?
No. But even to me, like as much as I love Danny DeVito's portrayal of Penguin, that still wasn't the Oswald Cobblepot of the comic books. He was more like a monster more than anything. He was vile and disgusting. Oswald was always very sophisticated. He was,
like the old TV show version as well. I used to love that one.
So it's like, but even with Robert Pattinson, I was like, really Batman? I was like, I see him more as I see him more as a Dick Grayson. He could be a great Dick Grayson.
So I'm going
Terry
off.
McGinnis.
I just want to go off topic. You're talking about Batman. You obviously have read comics. Favorite comic book characters? Go.
Oh yeah, well, Joker he's my favorite villain of all time. So yeah, I'm a huge Batman fan. I think he's got the best rogues gallery out of anybody of all comic books. It's like both Marvel and DC and everything else. And now Marvel wise, I'm a huge Spider-Man freak. Love Spider-Man. Love X-Men.
So now, since we were talking about the whole makeup thing with Art the Clown, what was the process like of becoming Art with the makeup?
It's a process. It takes about 3 hours to put it on because it's just a gelatin mask that is just one big huge piece that Damien has to systematically glue to my face. Now, he originally did a mold of my face and tried to do a sculpt off of it, but it didn't look as good as the original sculpt that he had for Mike Giannelli. So he actually uses Mike Giannelli's actual mold for my face. So he has to take a little bit more time to make sure it actually fits my face because it's not actually made for my face. But yeah, it takes a while. It's it's a process.
Yeah. So, and then also, at one of the conventions, we had seen that yourself and Sid Haig were in the same room getting the makeup done. He was becoming Captain Spaulding and you were becoming Art the Clown. Can you talk to us about that whole experience being in that room with Sid?
Man, that was something else. That was, it's like when they asked me, it's like, are you okay with getting your makeup done with Sid? I'm like, yeah, that's totally cool. Yeah. Are you kidding me? It's like, this is like amazing. And of course, this is before, obviously, I mean, I had no idea he was going to pass away later on. That year, and I was like, "Oh my god!" So that made it even more special because, like, of course, he finished his way sooner than me because his they timed it out so like they knew how long it would take for both of us, and his photo op was like an hour before mine, so they timed it so I was like, as soon as he's done, I would be done. I could go right in, and so he's finished. He turns around to me, he goes like, "See you under the big top, kid." and had his picture made with me and stuff like this. So it's kind of like
That's
a
so
passing
awesome.
of a torch in a way, and it's like it's even more special now. But it was a very surreal experience because we're in there just trading, like witty remarks back and forth with each other. So we're having fun. And at one point, Sergeant Slaughter comes into the room. Like, Damien and I are both just like going, "What is going on?" So surreal.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
Bruce
That's
Campbell's
awesome.
getting ready for his photo op in the next room too. So it's like, this is
That's
nuts.
very cool.
So like our inner kids are going, "Oh my god!" But we're like, we got to be cool. Don't show the excitement, but inside we're just like, this is awesome.
It sounds almost like while you recognized how big it blew up, it almost feels like you maybe don't feel like you're at that status of those other ones, even though we could, like fans see you like the same, but it sounds like you don't yet.
Yeah, no, I don't know if I ever will, because it almost feel I kind of feel like it's that imposter syndrome type thing going on there. It's like I especially when we did our first convention. Oh man, Damien and I were both so nervous. We're just like, because we didn't know how people were going to respond to us.
Yeah.
And it's like, I was so afraid that all these guys that I grew up watching in movies and I have loved, they were going to all look down upon me. Like, who the hell does this kid think he is coming into our territory?
Yeah.
Who, Art the Clown, whatever. Whatever. It's like, yeah, you were in one movie, kid. We're like a... but it was the total opposite. Several of them were actually fans of the film too, like Bill Moseley. It was just like... I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I was like,
that's fucked up.
Kane Hodder and all of them. They're like, Kane's like, when are you going to do a second one? I would.
Yeah, I know. That's the interesting thing too now, is that now that you're like part of, you did this movie that blew up in the horror scene, and now you've been doing conventions. Now you're like part of that family almost.
Yeah.
And I feel like that, the individuals that go to those conventions, I feel like they stick together. So I won't be surprised to see you with Kane soon. I know Josh has a question he's going to ask you in a little bit about another cast member of your upcoming film. But there's definitely a group that seem to go to the conventions pretty regularly and seem to love it.
Yeah.
So, and now you're part of that, it seems like, right?
That's something I've noticed too with you, because I've done both the horror conventions. I've done the normal, not normal, but the comic book type of conventions where they got everybody from everywhere, and there's a different sense of camaraderie between the people at the horror conventions versus the regular conventions. It's just like it's more of a family unit, because it's a lot of the same people go to the horror conventions, not just the celebrities, but like the fans. They're all going to different ones, so you see a lot of the same people over and over again. So it's like, hey, good to see you, and also that's where people hang out and have the parties and stuff like that after parties. They don't
the after parties. Here's a convention question. So I haven't done conventions in a long time. I met my wife and just had kids and stopped going for like 10 years, right?
Yeah.
These guys still go once, up until this year. But when I used to go years and years ago, you're absolutely right. The horror community is really different, and like the after parties. And is it really weird to be partying with famous people? Like, even though you're famous now, does it still feel weird when you turn like?
Well, that was like when we did Scaricon there in Massachusetts. Billy Zane was there, and he's in the middle of this party. We're doing karaoke, and Billy Zane is like videotaping Felissa Rose and I doing karaoke together, and I'm like, this is the most surreal thing. He's just sitting there with his camera. It's like,
I don't mean to throw shade at all, but was he still wearing his scarf?
Oh yeah.
He had a scarf on for that. We were like, what?
In summer.
Yes. I should mention that. It's in summer. Yeah.
That's Billy Zane.
Dude, that's awesome.
It's just like, but that was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
This is life.
Isn't it cool though?
So
like,
cool.
I think it's the coolest thing when you turn around and there's like somebody there. Like, I'm a nobody, right?
Yeah.
I went to a convention one time and we went out to eat. Me and whoever I was with went out to eat with I think it was like a magazine crew that was there. We just hooked up with, and I sat at the table. I turned around and Ben Chapman, who played the creature from the Black Lagoon, was sitting next to me. Yeah. And I was like, and he was like the coolest dude. And we talked the whole time we were eating.
Yeah.
So cool. And like,
that actually happened. Well, that actually happened to me years ago when I was touring with the Grinch, because we were in Tulsa and they were having their first comic convention there in Tulsa. And so a lot of celebrities were staying in the same hotel we were staying at. And so like Lou Ferrigno and Shatner and like Ernie Hudson were there. And like, but I go, I know a lot of people in my cast are also obsessed because Tom Felton was there. They're like, "Oh my God, it's Draco Malfoy!" I mean, they're all trying to find him. Like he and I pass each other on the escalator at one point. I'm like, "What's up, dude?" That's all I did. And everybody's like, "You did." I'm not gonna bother people. They're not at the convention. They're trying to come back in on one. But I was at the bar. I go sit at the bar because we'd finish our show and we'll all go hang out at the bar later on that night and stuff like that. And I'm sitting at the bar and this guy sits next to me and he orders a drink and I'm in the middle of eating my burger and I look and it's Ralph Macchio. And I'm like,
what the hell?
I'm like, holy shit, it's Daniel.
Yeah.
and he and I just sat there and talked for a while. I'm like, he's like, "Oh, you're an actress?" Like, "Yeah, we're here with the Grinch." He's like, I wish I could go see that. It's like I'm going to be so busy with the Grinch. I would love to go see the show. It's like, yeah. It's like, well, if you get a chance, let me know. I'll we'd probably be able to hook you up a ticket or whatever. But it was
Ralph Macchio was fishing for tickets. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was just like this is like amazing. I'm like, it's Ralph Macchio. He was just like the nicest guy, just the absolute. Yeah. That's what I love. But that's what I like about this kind of stuff is being able to interact with these celebrities as just people. Not as a celebrity, but like, oh, you're just another person. You get to see them in their actual natural element. It's like, oh, cool. Now I get to see the real you, not who you are on screen, but who you are in real life. And I think that is so much cooler.
That's exactly what we love about going to these conventions. Like we've, even the fact that like, you might not remember everybody, but like the fact that you'll take the time to even respond to people on, through the social media or whatever, and like we've had some really great experiences and some that weren't so great, but I mean, and then it just puts things into perspective. Like we know who's nice and who's not nice, and like
it was pretty cool because I was like telling you last time, Dave, like when we was down in Salem, and we had like this big event, and the guys from the Friday the 13th video game, I was just talking to them, chilling out and talking, having a conversation, and then Kane Hodder walks in. And he calls Kane over. He goes, "Hey, Kane, come over. This is Brandon, hey, everything." And he's like, "Hey, what's going on?" And we're like sitting down, like eating dinner. And then like later on in the conversation while we're eating and everything, George Romero's son's sitting across the table with his wife, and I'm sitting there just like, I didn't even know that was him, And these guys are really cool. It was a cool experience, and so, I still keep in touch with, the crew from the Friday the 13th video game and everything like that. But
they're all
like
great guys.
It's a cool experience. Yeah.
That's the thing. It's just like like Kane is very personable. He's always hanging out at the bars and stuff like that afterwards. And Felissa's the same way. Bill Moseley does that a lot too. It's just like it's kind of cool.
Yeah. I love it.
Speaking of Felissa, how was it working with her on Terrifier 2?
Well, unfortunately, we're not in the same scene together. Yeah. Spoiler, but yeah. It's like I'm not.
That's it. We're not watching the movie now. Nah.
Phyllis is like she's family now to us. So it's just like we're going to be working on 2 other films together in the next year. So it's just like that's what's kind of cool about it. So
it's awesome.
Felissa I absolutely love Felissa. I love it because she's the total opposite of her character from Sleepaway Camp. She is so funny. She's a hoot. She's just so personable. She's just a little ball of joy.
Yeah. She's super sweet to all of her fans. Always like starts everything off with like just like a nice phrase to like make you feel welcomed, which is awesome because sometimes you go up there, you got nerves because it's like like we were talking about here, it's kind of like starstruck, like, oh, I'm meeting this person that I've watched on TV so many years, and never thought I would be here. So,
yeah. And that's how
cool.
Felissa was with me when I first started doing conventions. She was at one of the first ones I did, and she just kind of like, hey, because she had seen Terrifier. I was like, I love it. I'm just like, I want to. You're new to conventions and everything, aren't you? I was like, yeah. I was like, I will introduce you to everybody. So she says. So that's what she's done. She's like, hey, I want you to, so it's like, it takes a lot of the pressure, because I always feel so awkward just going up to other celebrities if I haven't met them before. And I'm just like, hi.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to have a weird experience, but like,
correct me if I'm wrong, but when Brandon, you would remember, remind me, this, where we met David, that was also where they did the Phantasm reunion. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So were you a Phantasm fan by any chance?
I had actually not seen any of those before that. So I've watched them ever since then. I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah. That was so like, Brandon's a bigger fan than I, but I'd seen the first one, but I'm catching up now on all the sequels. But they were so cool to meet. That whole cast was like so engaging and like so embracing of their fans. So that was just another example of that.
Also nice, but that's basically how I would say about 99% of these people are, though. That's just like
And then there's the ones wearing scarves.
Yeah. That's the same thing. It's like yourself and Damien, you guys were the same way. You guys were just open, cool to talk to. And like Damien had showed us the cover of Terrifier 2. Like this was like months before you guys even started filming the movie, you know what I mean? And he's showing us the cover art. And so I was like, oh, this is pretty cool, And then we got to meet you guys, and it was a good time, ScareCon. So thanks for that experience.
We the two of us, Damien and I, geek out just as much as everybody else at these things. We're just like, we're like kids in a candy store. We're like,
awesome.
we can't believe we get to do these things. We're like, we love them. I absolutely love it. And now that we're getting more of our cast members to come to these conventions now as guests too, it's exciting because it's we brought Jenna and Catherine to the other ScareCon last year, and so that was their first convention. So it was so exciting to see them experience their first convention, see how everybody responds, and be able to introduce them to all the other people that we already know. And they're like, "Oh my god!" I'm like, "Yes," because at first they were very apprehensive about doing the convention. Like, how are these things gonna go? Is it gonna be worth our time? I'm like, yes.
Oh, and I bet those two probably had a huge turnout for fans. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, a lot of guys.
Yeah. That's where I was going with that. Yeah, for sure. I can see that.
Oh yeah, there would be times I look and I'm like, oh, they got a bigger line than I do.
Yeah,
I understand.
Yeah, exactly.
I get it.
Are you jealous that you don't look as good as they do?
No, I'm honest with myself. I'm like, I know I'm not nearly as good looking as any of them. I'm like, yeah, there's a reason I'm under all that makeup.
It's all right, because Josh, I know you feel the same way with me and Dave, Josh.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm the fattest guy in the group.
Oh, it's just like anytime I get some girl that's like trying to hit on me, I'm like, me?
Wait.
Talking to me? Really,
well,
me?
Mr. Thornton, we're gonna have some words. So my teenage daughter completely hates horror, right? Once in a while, I can get her to watch something really terrible. But I was like, oh yeah, I'm interviewing this guy David he was art. She's like, who's that? I'm like,
yep.
What? So she looks it up. She's like, oh, he's hideous. And then she looked at your picture without the makeup. She's like, ooh. I'm like, you're not allowed to be in the house. Like, that is my baby girl, you son of a... Stay away. And then my wife was like, wow, he's good looking. I'm like, stop looking.
I don't see that. I've no, it's like, no, I'm
just
not
take
ready.
it. Just take it.
I'm sorry, you son of a...
I really don't understand it. But it's because, so much of my life I was always made fun of for being skinny and stuff like that. So it's like, that's why I'm just like, It used to be the hardest thing for me to even be able to talk to girls back in the day.
Yeah.
Oh, now they come flocking over to your table. So there you go. Look who won the pony, huh?
But I'm still dead.
But they think you're joking. They think you're being funny.
No, I'm just like, no, I'm just extremely awkward.
Yeah. So go ahead, Josh. I was just going to say, you're going to ask the question we all want to ask.
Yeah, can you drop us anything on Terrifier 2? Was that a laugh of fuck you, no way?
I can't reveal anything.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
what can you tell
the
us?
one thing I could reveal, because you do see it in the trailers, like I got to shoot a flamethrower, which is freaking awesome. That was like one of the best days on set for me that I've ever had. I was like a kid that day. I was like, oh my god, I get to really shoot this thing. They're like, yeah. I'm like, ooh. They're like, let's do it again. Okay. I was. It was like Damon's like, yeah. I'm like, Damon, you want to do it? He's like, they won't let me. Like, you want to do it. You know you want to.
They won't let me.
It's like, they won't let me. I'm like, come on, let it do it.
So,
it's like,
would you say about how many times more violent will this be?
Yeah. It's definitely more violent. I would say like the first 5 minutes of the movie when we're filming it originally wasn't written to be as violent as it was, and we just, because of COVID, Damien had more time to flesh out that scene. So he's like, because Damien's like, everybody remembers the beginning and endings of film, so you have to start off with a bang and you have to go out with a bang.
Yeah.
People remember that. And so we have to do that. And so he's like, let's just swing for the fences with this opening.
Mm-hmm.
I remember. He nailed it.
I remember Damien said something.
Yeah,
I remember Damien said that this film was going to be darker.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just that's the thing. It's like he took full advantage of actually having this downtime because of the virus and fleshed out the things we have not filmed yet. And it's just like this scene was just supposed to be just a few little things, and it keeps going with the things I'm doing to my victim, and I'm like, my God, it's like, he's like, we're gonna get an NC-17 rating just for the first 5 minutes of this film.
Oh wow.
Yeah, we like my first whack I had on the victim. Damien's like, Dave, this would be a whole entire kill right there in itself in a Jason movie. I'm like, you're right.
Yeah,
and we're doing so much more to this poor thing.
This poor thing.
Like, oh
awesome.
My God! That's just the first kill alone.
I do think that's going to be welcomed. That darker take on it, just because of everything going on in the world. I think that people are, a lot of times our horror and our film kind of reflects what's going on in society. So I do think that's going to be welcomed, because I think there's a lot of needed angst that people have to get out, and we sometimes do that through
and we're not like a lot of horror films where when the kill happens they just cut away, and so you see the first strike and then you see the aftermath. We show everything that happens throughout it, so it's just like we take you on that journey of like, oh my God, this guy is messed up.
That's awesome.
Like he is doing some horrible things, because there's another kill that happens later on in the film that it's just mean. It's like Art's not really even doing anything any really funny in this. It's just mean. And Damien said when he was editing it, he started getting nauseous. So he's just like, this is hard, because you just hears the victim screaming and yelling the whole entire time. He's like, oh God, what did we do? This is like I'm filming my final scene coming up next month, and it's like the big kill scene that we think might rival the hacksaw scene in the first film. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe they're doing that.
Oh man.
And we started filming it back in February. And it was just the beginnings, because there's a lot of prosthetics involved in this thing. A lot. Okay. And so we filmed the stuff we didn't really need extensive prosthetics with. And one of our crew members, Leo, who is a huge horror guy, he's tough. He is like, guys, I got to step out of the room right now. I'm getting woozy.
Damn.
And that was just the beginning of it, where he was just like,
Jeez. So you got one kill scene that you have to wrap up, and then how much longer do you think it's going to be before you guys?
I think we should, once we wrap this scene, I think we should basically be wrapped for the film.
Cool.
So we should be done by the end of the year.
All right. And there's no estimate now as far as release, obviously, I would assume.
It's all dependent on like how quickly we can get, everything edited and then find distribution and stuff like that. So and I think a lot of things are contingent also because of the virus right now, because I know Damien has an idea where he wants to do a road show with it, kind of like what Kevin Smith did with the last Jay and Silent Bob movie.
Yeah.
Because we're honest with ourselves. We don't think a theater chain is going to put us in theaters nationwide, a big huge release like that because of the content. Because like I said, NC-17 rating. I was like, but at the same time, I'm like, yeah, but we could be like the most successful NC-17 movie in that regard too. That would get people talking. People would want to go see. It's like, oh my god, what's in this movie and stuff like that. But but at the same time, it's like, yeah, but we still want to it be seen with a group of people. So like, yeah, we could just take it to different theaters all over the nation and, do that. Cause I think it's one of those films that you have to see with a big audience. These are the type of films you have to see with an audience. You can't see it just sitting on your couch at home. It's more fun with a big group of people where everybody's screaming and yelling and laughing and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Sweet. So, if you guys come to Rhode Island, movie night.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was just gonna say. If you guys do end up planning Rhode Island in that road trip, let us know because we would love to be part of that.
Well, whatever happens, I'll definitely be posting updates and stuff like that. I know Damien will be doing the same on his page and also the Terrifier pages and stuff like that.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's just like I've learned so much about this industry that I didn't understand beforehand about how hard it is to actually make movies. There's so much that goes on behind the scenes that you just don't realize as a fan. It's just like, wow, this is just trying to get a distribution. It's just like, my God, because there are people that want to take you on, but then they want to make cuts to the film and stuff like that. That was like problems with the first one, and Damien was like, absolutely not. They wanted to cut like most of the hacksaw scene out. They're like, well, we could put you in theaters nationwide, but we want to make cuts. And he's like, no, because this is going to be he's like, this is my vision. No one's going to mess with my art. And it's like, this is what people are going to remember about the film. So no, you're not cutting that.
Yeah. Let me ask you. So, I know you're pretty politically aware. You stay very up to date with politics and kind of what's going on in the world. And you're, I know you've been outspoken and sometimes that's gotten you some feedback in some ways. Let me ask you though, has any of your that kind of what's going on in the world, has that gone into your character at all in any shape? Have you adjusted the way you play art? Kind of,
no.
Is he more malicious in any way, or is he kind of just exactly what we've grown to love?
No, he's still the same art, still just malicious. I think he's a little bit more confident in part two though, because he's come back from the dead. He's like, oh hey, I didn't know I could do this. Hey, so he's got a little bit more swagger to him, I think, now, because he's like, I'm a tough son of a bitch. Yeah, awesome. But I think that also can, that might be a detriment to him too, because he has that little bit too much, confidence in that way, where he might be caught off guard. You never know.
Yeah.
So here's a question. You're a very physical actor, and I don't mean aggressively physical. I mean, your movements are very physical with your characters.
Right.
Is art still going to be a physical, you don't speak, but you move around a lot, and are you still going to be that kind of moving around, I'm showing you how to move, right? But you get what I'm saying. Are you still going to be physical like that with art?
Oh, definitely. He's still, that's always the hard part with this character, because we're I'm the comedy guy, Damien's the horror guy, and that's why we work so well together, because we bounce our ideas off of each other, and we'll try different approaches to the same scene. Okay, let's do it a little bit funnier, or let's try it scarier now, and we'll see what works best. And sometimes I'll have an idea, and he's like, "No, this is how I want it to be. That this doesn't need to be silly right now." And that's that fine line we're always having to walk, is because we don't want to get too campy with things, but we still want him to have his humorous aspects to him too. So it's a tough line to walk, but it's fun at the same time because it can be a fun challenge. Because there are scenes where I'm able to just totally let loose and just have fun with it. And he actually wrote some scenes in the second one because when he wrote part one, we didn't know each other at the time. He didn't know what my style was. So when he wrote part two, he's like, okay, this is a scene where Dave can just play, and he won't even really write. He won't even write what is going to happen in the scene because we're like, we'll just figure that out when we get on set and we'll see what we have to interact with. And I can think of two scenes in particular in this film where I was able to walk on set. I had no idea what I was going to do until I got there. I'm like, I just saw what I had on set. I'm like, okay, I came up with a routine. I'm going to do this. He's like, awesome, let's film it.
Nice.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Very cool.
And he's over there on the side just going, oh, God. Just laughing.
So on that, like, I know you're a big fan of physical comedians. Mm-hmm. Who is your favorite physical comedian? That's
really tough. Because I love the greats that came before, like Chaplin and Buster Keaton and stuff like that. They set the standard for everybody. They set the foundation for everybody. But I'm a huge Jim Carrey fan. Of course, has had a big influence on me. But I would say, I was, for one, Mr. Bean, Rowan Atkinson.
Yeah, I love it. I had a feeling it was going to be Mr. Bean.
Yeah, that really got me into it because, I love Jim Carrey at the time, but my aunt gifted me a box set of Mr. Bean videos when I was a teenager, and I would just sit there and really digest that, and I would watch them over and over and over and over and over and over and over. It's like, oh God, I love this character because he's such an asshole. He's a lovable asshole, but he is such so selfish, and he's so he has no sense of what is right or wrong. He's just all about himself. Yeah. And that's the kind of approach I've taken to art as well. It's all about him. What makes him happy? What entertains him? Screw everybody else. This is what entertains me. And so I put a lot of that, into art. But so yeah, that's a big, influence. He's one of my favorites because I just think he's brilliant. And he's influenced a lot of other people. And the other person I would say was an influence on me that he also influenced was Stephen Carl, who was Robbie Rotten.
Robbie Rotten from Lazy Town.
Yes, I was his understudy for 5 years with The Grinch. So Stephen really helped take all the stuff I had been just learning from watching the greats that came before me, and because he was professionally trained in physical comedy and clowning. And he took me and he really just helped me fine-tune my skills because I had never been able to meet an actor like that beforehand that could really just teach me. And like, okay, you're doing some great things, but here's how to make them better. And so I took a lot of what Stefan did when I would be on set. I'm like, okay, how would Stefan approach this scene? Okay, I know what I'm going to do now. I would just call them what would Stefan do moments.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so you see a lot of Stephen Carl in my portrayal of Art the Clown, I would say.
Yeah.
So last question for me. Part 2, you're going to do a scene where you drive by and instead of waving, you're going to do the middle finger like Mr. Bean did. I would love to see that.
Oh, yeah. That's I love it because people always think of the middle finger because that was one of those happy accidents we had on set where they had already said cut. And I was just joking around with the actress Samantha Scafidi when she's coming back, so we had to do the scene again. And I was like, fuck you. They caught it on camera, and the crew's laughing their asses off. They're like, that was so funny. And Damien has said that was something he never wanted to actually, he never even thought about putting anything like that into the film because it just seemed too contrived.
Yeah.
But he's like, no, that just worked. It was just so natural. Yeah. It just happened in the moment. And so it's like, yeah.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I just have two last things I wanna throw at you. So our first thing is something we've been doing with people that we get to talk to, that have characters like yourself and Art. So Josh does a weekly horror icon throwdown that we allow our social media followers to vote on, and I think you might have caught wind of this because we recently did a Ghostface from Scream versus Art the Clown.
Yes.
And I believe that Ghostface has won, but you demanded a recount, which was hilarious.
I had to do that because of what was going on at the time.
Yes, that was so perfect, and it like actually was what kind of like spawned us wanting to get in contact with you because we're like, oh, this is perfect.
And you're not stepping down until it happens. Goddamn!
I have to have a recount.
So I will let you know that Josh has actually used you on 3 occasions. So the people that he's posted you against have been Ghostface, Pennywise, and Twisty. Out of the 3 of those, who do you feel Art the Clown has the chance to be in a horror icon throwdown, whether it's physical or some sort of battle? Which ones do you feel like
definitely Ghostface? I mean, that's just like some little punk wearing.
That one really struck
costume.
a nerve, huh?
That was that was like, really, because it's not even the same person. It's always a different person.
Which one? Right?
It's just a guy with a knife going,
As soon as they text me, I'm like, this guy's gonna come to my house. He's gonna kick the door in.
You did get some people that defended you.
I know. I was like,
reiterated that same point.
I was like, he can't come back from the dead. I can.
Yes. That's exactly what somebody has said, though. It's Ghostface was just some teen, and so Josh, remind me, the other one that the voters had picked was also they had Art beating Twisty, right?
Oh, hands down. That one got like more votes than almost every other throwdown ever. Art got something like 100 and something, and Twisty got like 20.
Really?
So,
wow.
Twisty
I
got
love Twisty. Oh my God. It made me mad when they killed him off on there. I was like, no, he's the best part of this season.
Yeah, he was.
He
definitely was.
John Carroll Lynch was amazing. And I didn't even realize that was him. I remember him from back on the Drew Carey show when he was Drew's older brother that cross-dressed. And I was like, this is hysterical. And I was like, oh my God, that's him. Oh my God. Because that he was so freaky in that role. It was just, but then they made him like a sympathetic character too at the same time. But then just the whole thing when he takes off the mask and that you just see oh my God, that was like,
that was great.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Yes. I loved that character. I was like, oh.
So are you sad that you beat him?
No. No.
We'll start singing Cleveland Rocks.
Yes.
So I think we're going to make an oath to you that anytime a horror clown comes into the business, we are going to post them against you and let the voters pick. And I hope that you always witness it and chime in to let us know if you agree with the outcome.
Oh, okay? Yeah, those are fun though. Those are always fun. I sometimes like to chime in on my. I never get mad about them. Maybe some people think I'm like, oh no, I'm just joking around.
Yeah.
Oh my God, no! This is all fun. It's just like, oh God, I don't take it to heart at all. It's just like, because everybody has their own opinions about things.
Speaking of opinions,
that was really cool.
Speaking of opinions, this is what I want to ask you last was, so as much as there's the majority of people that really love Art the Clown and they love Terrifier, there is this minority of people that do not like Terrifier at all, and they talk trash about Art the Clown. Yeah. How do you approach that? And like, because I mean, this kind of ties into something we talked about recently. Because just even like running a social media about movies we didn't even participate in, just giving our opinions gets backlash sometimes. So I wonder what it's like for you actually being the actor and like having investment in this movie.
I understand because I know especially the first one that because I know like one of the big critiques we had was like, oh, there's no plot. There's very little character development. And I'm like, yeah, we know. We know. Oh, we're fully aware of that. Well, we weren't trying to go for that. But it's like, yeah, I understand. I can understand why some people are like, oh, I don't like this. Or, but that's the thing. It's like, like it's just like how comedy is. Horror is also subjective as well. Different things scare different people, and so this might not scare some people. And I'm like, or this might not be their cup of tea. And I'm like, I totally understand. There have been other mainstream horror films that have come out. I'm not going to name names, but other people were like, "This is the best movie ever," and it's critically acclaimed movie. And I was like, I didn't like it.
I already know what movie you're talking about.
It was just like, I was kind of like, it wasn't for me. It had nothing to do with the actors or anything like that. It's like the storyline. I was like, I just don't. No, I was bored.
Connect. Yeah,
it didn't connect with it. It didn't scare me. And that's the thing. So I didn't care for it. And I also thought it was overhyped. And I was like, So I can understand how other people might have the same reaction to Terrifier. It's just like everybody has their own opinion.
I want to say it out loud what I think it is. Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Midsommar?
No.
Actually, okay.
No.
Because I enjoyed that, but I heard that so many times. People are like, "Oh, it kind of was boring to me."
I thought that, especially with the scene with the old people. Oh my God, that was a great that head smash. I was like, oh, that's a good head smash. Because that made and also just the first drop. I was like, oh God. And it actually made me react like that. And it's like, I love it when a movie makes you go, oh God. I love that because that's good. That's good. It was a good use of practical effects there and stunt work. I was like, that was good. I was like, but there's some other movies.
Yeah.
So I remember talking to sorry.
No, that's fine.
You can go. Yeah, so I remember I was talking to Damien about that, and I know he was talking about like a kind of a backstory for Art. Now, for the second film, are they going to like go deep into that, or are they just going to continue to keep it like with no plot and just roll with it?
Oh, we definitely have more plot this time. This is definitely this. Like I kind of look at Terrifier 1 it's introducing everybody to Art. This movie, even though Art is front and center, don't worry, he's not just going to be in for like 15 minutes and be gone. We're not pulling a Beetlejuice there, but it's just like, but yeah, it's this movie. I think he and the female lead have equal time. It's more about developing her story now and how she becomes the yin to his yang in a lot of ways. So we're setting up the Batman to his Joker now.
Nice.
And that's what's exciting. So and Damien made a point to make this more plot centric and really develop characters, and I love the characters that are in this film. There's some that people don't even know about yet, and I'm just like, oh, I can't wait. There's one in particular I think people are going to have a big, huge what the fuck moment with, and I'm like, I love it. There'll be a lot of questions about this character too, and I love it. Because we don't want to answer everything yet. I think a little bit of mystery is always fun. It's like the Joker's. Like you're not supposed to know who he was before he fell into those chemicals. You just know he was a guy dressed as the Red Hood. But it's like you don't know why he went that way, and I think it's kind of fun having that because I love seeing all the different fan theories out there. It's like who was Art before he was Art? Like what made him go this route? I know who he was. That's something Damien and I have come up with together. We've really fleshed out his background and everything like that. But like we want to leave a lot of that still a mystery, but we do have clues in part 2.
And so like it's crazy because it's like when you go one way with it, some fans get mad and some fans are cool with it because like we kind of talked about it before with the remake of Halloween, the Rob Zombie, when he kind of went into the backstory of Michael Myers. You have people that love it and you have people that hate it, and you're not supposed to know what Michael Myers was like or what he was thinking at that time, and so I like me and Dave we talked, we like that Rob Zombie took that time to kind of like explore the whole situation of what made Michael the way he was, so if you look at it you just have to have open mind, and so I think like some people are disabled to
you're never gonna please everybody,
right?
Especially with origins and stuff like that, because but I think Damien and I have an idea, especially how to explore it in part 3, that, kind of appeases both parties so that don't want his whole background told and those that want to know more about it. So I think we found a happy medium in there. Yeah, it's just,
That's good.
it's like, because it's like the stories that people have in their heads is like, that's their story. That's so like what we've come up with necessarily won't necessarily be something they like. It's like because they have their own cool ideas, and it's like it's hard to beat someone else's story that they've come up for themselves. Yeah, I look at all the stuff that happened, with Star Wars, with Rey's background and who her parents were and stuff like that. And it's like all these fan theories at first, and everybody, when the second movie came out, people were so pissed. Like, what? She's a nobody. And even the third movie, what? She's a spoiler, a Palpatine? What?
Nah.
But it's just like, it's sometimes it's better just to leave some things a mystery, too.
Yeah.
But I think we found a fun way to do both.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I look forward to that for sure. I think that's, I think it's welcomed with this storyline just because the first one was so like right away getting into it that like there wasn't even like a second for you to even like wonder what was really going on.
Yeah.
So I think it will be welcomed with this one. I wanted to ask one more thing that kind of ties into a previous question. Has there ever been a time where a fan or a non-fan has just gone too far and you had to kind of like draw a line with them, whether it was so much hate and that it was like, is this getting personal, or if it was like they were just do too much and you had to tell them?
It was actually at Scaricon. There was this one guy that was, I think he had a little bit too much to drink that night. And it wasn't
Dave.
He was just talking. No, it wasn't you guys. But he was more talking about the females in the movie and stuff like that, and the stuff he wanted to see done to them and stuff like that. Or it's like, oh, how cool is that to be in those kind of situations with those girls and like that. And like, yeah, I was in a movie with a girl that was topless. So what? This is like, but that's the thing. It's like that we didn't look at that scene as a sexual scene at all.
Yeah,
that was more about debasing her, and it's like it was more about more like psychological torture for Tara's character to see her friend in such a vulnerable state and stuff like that. It's like, and when we're filming it, that was the furthest thing from our mind because we were trying to make sure Catherine was safe the whole entire time.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm sure you're like in a different state with it.
Yeah. But so I'm just like, this guy was just going on and on. And I was like, oh, you must. I'm like, both Damon, because like Catherine's like a sister to us now. So it's like, this is family. These are like family. So like we get defensive over like people trying to sexualize our the people in our films. Like, how dare you say this stuff about them? Because like all the women that we've worked with in these films, in both films, are just amazing, headstrong women that are just awesome people in real life. I'm like, I don't want to hear you saying this kind of stuff about them. So Damien, I think, was about to throw a punch. Because he was like someone just took this guy away from us because he was just getting really obnoxious about it. Just like, God, man, this is like this. It's not cool. It's not.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
That's why I don't drink.
Can't control myself, Josh.
Yeah, it's like this guy cannot control. And he was also like, "Yeah, your movie." He's like, you need to have more plot. Why do you have more plot in your movie? It was just like, God, dude.
You're like waving over security. Get this motherfucker out of here.
Yeah, pretty much. It was just like, dude, you're embarrassing yourself.
Yeah,
dude. It's just like, dude.
It's always one bad apple, right?
Yeah.
It's like we always say, why don't you go make a damn movie? Like, you get so many opinions about it.
I know, but that was such a rarity, though. That hardly ever happens. That's why that one stood out, because it was so rare. We're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
What the hell is wrong with this guy right now? It's like, this is not cool. Why are you talking like this? It's like, would you say this stuff to her face? It was like, this is, dude.
Yeah, and probably no. He's probably would not do that. No. I'm assuming.
No, because
he probably wouldn't know what to say.
Ass kicked.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I know that these women would be able to hold their own too. They would be like, put them in their places. And it's like, I love them so much. I'm like, it's like Papa Bear comes out of Damien and I when this stuff happens. We're like, how dare you say that kind of stuff? Because I'm like, no, You don't talk to them, talk about them that way in front of me.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a family. I can understand completely.
Yep.
Yeah, and I have an adopted family with 2 brothers and 2 sisters. So
yeah,
I get it completely.
I'm
Like,
a
don't
very
talk about my
protective
sister.
person. I'm very protective, and just like I'm like that with all my female friends. I'm like, how dare you say it? I'm like,
That's commendable, though. Like,
Yeah.
I give you all the props in the world to be like, hey, dude, why don't you just fuck off? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, a lot of, you know, it's pretty cool that you stick up for people like that. You know.
Well, someone has to. It's just like some things are just not acceptable for me. I'm just like, yeah. It's like I understand. You see an attractive woman, yeah. You don't have to just go text Avery Wolf on them. You know,
Right.
just like you can internalize. I'm like, I recognize when I see a beautiful woman, but I'm not just going, oh my god. I'm just no, dude.
And I think that's been important for I know us 3 as like a collective like group of horror fans. It's been important to kind of represent horror fans in a non-stereotypical way of how other people may have seen them if they didn't actually like immerse themselves in this world. For us, like we don't, you know, we're not like all always dressed in black with you know, and like we don't like we shower daily and stuff like that. Like,
exactly.
Like, but I think there's like a stereo. Like,
there is that
view.
stereotype, and that's also kind of what made me mad about this. Like, dude, you're being a stereotype. Right now.
Exactly.
Stop this shit.
Yep, that's exactly what it is. I know when we go to conventions, like, you know, we make it a point to like, you know, we're immersing ourselves in this world, but like, I'm trying to also act like, you know, I care about this, and I'm not trying to make a fool out of myself or.
Oh yeah. And that's the thing. It's like
genre.
99.9% of all the people, the fans at these conventions, they're all the coolest people. They're nice. Yeah, some of them are wearing black or they're wearing makeup and stuff like that. But it's because they're accepted.
Right.
And that's the thing, that they can come here to these conventions and be able to show who they are and be accepted by everybody. And everybody embraces that. And that's what I think is so cool about it. No one's judgmental.
Yes.
Everybody's able to just be themselves. And it's like, yeah, so we all love horror movies. That doesn't mean we're all freaks in real life that actually want to go cut people and stuff like that. No. Oh my God, no.
Yes. And that's what we love too, is like, you know, we've met so many people that look, you know, similar to us or different than us. But the one common thing is that everybody seems to just be super kind for some reason. It's so odd because we love this like super dark themed art and we love watching people get murdered, but then everybody's like super nice to each other and kind.
It's the weirdest juxtaposition because everybody's like, oh, this is such an awesome, I loved it when you do that in the movie, but they're like, oh, this is my puppy. I brought my puppy with me, and it's like,
That's funny. Every movie night we've done, we've raised money for the Animal Rescue League. So there you go. Talking about puppies.
Like, oh man, I freak out over dogs and cats and stuff like that. Cats, and I'm like, oh, can I pet him? I just want to see the puppy. I gotta see the puppy.
I just like the fact that you used a juxtaposition in a sentence on a podcast.
I come from a family of English teachers. It happens.
These guys make fun of me all the time for not knowing how to read, even though I'm sitting in a library. So
you just had to throw that in, Josh, didn't you?
I did.
He always has to humble brag about his library.
I thought he said library at first, though.
I still have an accent. I'm like, use guys, the library.
Like, the library.
Yeah.
My car. So David, I just wanted to say, like, I think one of the things that I think everybody has really appreciated about not even just Art the Clown, but also you, is the fact that, like, as the movie blew up and you started to go on podcasts and do interviews and you were going to the conventions, everybody got to see you as a person and see how much you seem to appreciate your fans, how approachable you are. Like I said previously, I know that you have very strong beliefs, and you're passionate about those as well. So I think it's been like an amazing journey just watching like this movie blow up. That, like, obviously nobody expected at first, and then to also along the way meet two, like you and Damien and everybody else in the cast, just meet this group of actors and creators that are just also very nice and genuine people. So I think we all really appreciate that about you. Thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Oh, you're welcome. I've been having such a fun time chatting with you guys. It's just This is just so laid back and chill. So just like, this is like it just feels like, like conventions where I'm just hanging out with people afterwards and just shooting the shit with them. This is the kind of stuff I love.
Yeah.
So
you even learned a new word, library.
Library.
What kind of trees do those grow on, Josh?
I'm writing my own dictionary.
Oh boy.
It's a new type of berry. It's the library. It's only grown in DC.
Yeah. I was going to say, we've also been pretty tame tonight as far as busting each other's balls. So I think that's because you have been so nice to us. So I appreciate that as well. And Josh probably appreciates it more than any of us.
Dave got me thrown out of my local library, the son of a bitch.
That's why he built his own.
I got thrown out of my elementary school library one time because it was in first grade. I learned how to do the armpit farts in the library, and I couldn't stop doing it because I was like, I discovered a new trick, and I'm like,
and it feels kind of cool too. Like you had that.
Like, David, you have to stop. No.
Get out of the library.
Oh my god! I actually knew it. Like I was in a fraternity in college, oddly enough, and one of my fraternity brothers could play music on his armpits. I don't know how. It was a special skill, and it was amazing. So we would have parties and stuff like that. And they'd have a band, and sometimes he would get up with the band, and he would just put the microphone next to his armpit, and he'd just start playing along with them. And it's like, and it was totally on pitch. It was like, how do you do this? It was the funniest thing. I loved it. I was just like, this is amazing skills. Like I'm still amazed he's never gone on America's Got Talent to do this. Like,
one day you will see him on there.
He's on there doing like Flight of the Bumblebees or something like that. Like, how are you doing this?
So what I'm hearing is Terrifier Part 3 has Art the Clown with his sidekick armpit. Like, that's what I'm hearing. Do it.
Yeah, he can't tell us that. That's a spoiler alert right there. Yeah, fart.
Oh my.
The setting is a library.
David, before we wrap up today, tell us, what are you pushing right now? What do you want to promote? What do you got working on?
Well, I'm in January. First of all, we're filming English Hard.
English Hard.
Oh God, it's just sometimes my brain goes faster than my mouth gets stuck.
Oh, I hear you.
It's just so annoying. But we're finishing filming Terrifier, of course, this fall, December. But I'm going to be filming 2 more films starting in January. They brought me in for this independent film called Time's Up that had a great Indiegogo campaign, and it's Damon Maffei from Strangers 2 Pray at Night, and Elsie Holt from You're Next, and Felissa Rose are the producers, and they're also in it. And they like, hey Dave, you want to be in this? They wrote a little part for me, so I have a fun little 2 or 3 scenes in it that I get to do. So I'm like, that's cool. I'm the type of person, like, I don't care if it's the lead or just a 1 or 2 scene part, as long as it's something fun I can do. I'm game. I'm like, that's cool. And so it's going to be a fun role in that, and it's going to be a fun slasher. Cool script. And then after that, I'm going to be filming with a lot of Terrifier people on what we're hoping is going to be another horror franchise. It's called Stream. I can't tell you more about the plot or anything like that, but it's a cool concept. We've got a lot of ideas, and we're getting a lot of people from the horror world, from the older horror films, involved in it as well.
Okay.
It's like we got like a pretty star-studded cast. It's like, they haven't really announced a lot of them yet, but I'm excited.
Who's heading that project?
Fuzz on the Lens, our Mike Levy, Jason Levy, and Steve Del Salo. Jason and Steve were our 2 cops in Terrifier, and Mike was the exterminator that I decapitated. but they're also
okay.
helping on Terrifier too. They have another film that came out a few years ago called Abnormal Attraction, which you can find on like Amazon Prime and stuff like that. It's hysterical. But
Very cool.
but yeah, so they wrote their own horror series, and they're like, "Hey, you want to be part of it?" So I'm like, yeah. And so we got Damien's going to be doing the prosthetics and stuff like that for it, and we got a lot of our other crew members going to be helping out on it. And they've, got some other people involved with it as well. So I'm like, that's exciting. We're going to be camped out in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, filming in this hotel for about a month or so. So it's going to be fun. We're just going to be like, hey, let's just camp out all together and film a movie.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's awesome.
That's pretty cool.
So it sounds like 2021. I mean, I hopefully I don't jinx myself like we did in 2019, but like it's not like 2021. There's, we have a lot more of you to be seen. We should be seeing a few projects with you involved, right?
Yeah, hopefully once Terrifier 2 comes out, that's going to just explode and open up more doors and stuff like that too.
Absolutely.
So it's an exciting journey to be on right now.
I wanted to ask you, this is a totally unrelated question. Terrifier 1, you filmed in an abandoned location, correct? It was a hospital. Is that
we filmed in two different locations. Originally, we were filming in this what we think might have been a chop shop in Trent, New Jersey.
Yeah,
we got out of there.
Yeah, was it Trent Hospital that you had?
No, I don't know. It was just like all that stuff, all the tires and the cars and everything. Those were there. It was just like, well, none of that was set dressing. That was all there. That bathroom was just as disgusting as it was. But then we ended up filming the rest out on Staten Island at Seaview Mental Hospital.
Seaview, that's what I was.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Yep. Did you guys get permission, or did you kind of just go?
Yeah, we had permission because Damien's mom was working there at the time, so she
all right,
got us in there. So we were filming in one of the more abandoned parts of the facility because it was badly damaged during the hurricane that hit us, and so it was really creepy because like the tunnels that we were in, that's where you see with the baby and stuff like that. Those were the tunnels that they were using to bring TB patients after they died and stuff like that to burn the bodies. So like the room that you see me strangling Victoria in with the cellophane or whatever that was. And also, actually, where you see Catherine, it's the same room where she's cut in half. That was the furnace room where they, I think, burned a lot of bodies, and we were finding some weird things in there.
Oh, I'm sure.
Like, who am I breathing in right now?
Yeah. Well, that was the other big part of that film. I think the setting was very, very cool. It was very dark. So that definitely helped with that.
Oh, definitely. It helped us with the budget, too. It's like, we don't have to do any set decoration. This is all just here.
Exactly.
This is great. This is creepy. So,
yeah. All right, cool. I wanted to ask that. I meant to ask that earlier, but
it was creepy. That place is creepy.
Yeah,
creepy.
For sure. All right. Well, David, again, thanks for joining us. This was really fun. Thank you very much.
We'll have to do this once part 2 comes out so I can actually talk about things.
I hope you do. I definitely hope you come back.
Yeah, because there's going to be so much I want to talk about. It's just like, I can't talk about it yet.
All right. Well, thanks again, David. And thanks to all of our listeners for catching this bonus episode. Hope you enjoyed it, and have a great night, everyone.